I'll tell you what, it doesn't scare me nearly as much as a potential round one matchup against the Tampa Bay Lightning, which is exactly what one of Florida or Tampa Bay, or Toronto, I should say, are staring down. And after Tampa Bay goes and loads up once again yesterday, they go get Oliver Bjorkstrand and Yanni Gourde from the Seattle Kraken. The return the other way, Mikey Eyssimont, 2 first-round picks, and a second-round pick as well. So Seattle gets a haul. Focusing on Tampa Bay, I love the line from Julien Brisebois, who said, I'd rather have a lineup of good players than a bank of good draft picks.
Totally agree. I still think a significant price to pay. Those two things can be true at the same time. And I always think back to what Steven Stamkos said a couple years ago when he was still captain of the Tampa Bay Lightning. We don't care about draft picks. And no team, no roster of players in the moment trying to win a Stanley Cup ever cares about first round picks that are out the door that are very also likely to be late in the first round. So they bring back a familiar face that they believe, because of that familiarity with Yanni Gourde, who stepped on the ice today wearing his familiar number 37 with the Tampa Bay Lightning at morning skate. They bring back a guy that they believe they can extend, and Bjorkstrand has term on his deal. So that justified the cost for them. That essentially the way they're thinking about it is these are two guys that are going to be under contract. So that, I think, certainly diminishes the risk on their part. And then moving forward, look, the Lightning think that these two guys can help put them over the top, and hard to argue with Gourde's previous playoff success and that familiarity that John Cooper would have with him in the lineup, even though I think he's taken a significant step back. But he says he feels good, and Tampa's no joke. That team has been one of the best teams in the league for a month now. They've got Andrei Vasilevskiy back. He's obviously rested, just coming off of a Four Nations faceoff break. And this is, you look at their lineup moving forward, like I believe they're a team that now swapping out Steven Stamkos for Jake Gensel is really well positioned moving forward with Hagel and Cirelli and Paul and obviously Kucherov and Point. That why can't it be the Tampa Bay Lightning that breaks through to be that team that wins the Stanley Cup again?
Well, and we talked about this a week ago, but if you want any other, or maybe the biggest reason to believe in them, is Andrei Vasilevskiy's back and looking like the old Andrei Vasilevskiy. Last year was a down year, had the surgery, missed a few months, sat around to 900 basically all season. This year, he's a game breaker once again. So not only do you now have a forward group that's gone from, weak in terms of depth to all of a sudden it's a strength, their depth, being able to throw Gourde and Bjorkstrand out as a third line, but you still have one of the best goalies in the world backstopping it all.
Yeah, totally agree. And that's why I think it made sense for them to go for it this time.
Yeah, and just looking, someone said it's a steep price to pay for these two. But again, you get Bjorkstrand for another year. We know Yanni Gourde loves it in Tampa Bay, pending UFA. They have $9-ish million in cap space with basically their roster already set. Would anyone be the least bit surprised if it's Yanni Gourde signing a sweetheart deal July 1 or even before then with Tampa?
Not for me. Not at all. And I also just think, although the price is high, Julien Brisebois' track record is really impressive. Whether it's Coleman and Goudreau or Hagel or Paul, or, when you make big swings like this, you're going to have a miss. And Tanner Jeannot was the miss. He was the turd. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 picks out the door, that hurt. But the team, obviously has rebounded, and they're in a pretty good spot moving forward.
Let's talk about the flip side of this deal, Frank, and the Seattle Kraken. So we all kind of expected Yanni Gourde would be out the door. Oliver Bjorkstrand, maybe not quite a lock, but he was on your trade targets board, and he had moved up a bit in recent weeks. But let's talk about the two other names that are in your top 20 on Seattle, Jamie Alexiak and Brandon Tanev. Is Ron Francis now, does he kind of like have the itch? Is he like, ooh, getting first round picks is fun. Let's grab a few more here. Like, do you think it's a lock both these guys go, or is that too aggressive of a word?
No, I think lock is certainly the word to use for Brandon Tanev. I think Jamie Alexiak, not nearly as much, but certainly when you look at how thin this market is, and when you look at what Brian Dumoulin just got, the better of the second round picks from the Winnipeg Jets or the Edmonton Oilers in that trade, plus a third round pick prospect, I'm looking at this going, okay, that's Dumoulin, who isn't nearly as impactful as Alexiak and doesn't have term on his deal. If you're Seattle and someone's coming at you with a significantly better offer than that, I think you've got to do it. And Alexiak has the size to be that impact guy. Tanev obviously is going to be, with his different elements and skill set, certainly going to be someone that's worth watching. And it's developed in a way that, look, Seattle's not going to be in a position to say no. And I really liked what Ron Francis said after the fact, that he's made a commitment to getting this thing moving in the right direction. And the best way to do that and to find difference makers is to accumulate these picks that you can then package to get something that is really meaningful.
Yeah, or you just start taking shots in the first round. And eventually, even if they're late first round picks, you hope that you find your way, stumble your way, draft your way into a superstar. It's better than the status quo in Seattle. And like you said, Ron Francis kind of alluding to that a little bit. Let's continue along to the...
What's up, hockey fans? If you enjoyed that video, then you need to be hitting the subscribe button right here at Daily Faceoff. Exclusive interviews and analysis from our hockey insider Frank Seravalli, fantasy updates from Brock Sagan, and a daily live show at noon Eastern, Monday through Friday. You don't want to miss any of the fantastic content, so hit that subscribe button.